Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is it, the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, one of the most entertaining shows in town, and it should be that way tonight. We have a lot to get into. Pitt Panthers are ranked. They have a meaningless game coming up before they head to their ACC championship. How should they play it? The Penguins have lost 8 of 9. We're going to try to diagnose the problem and what should be done. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, the Steelers 15-1-1 in their last 17 road games, and this one was one of the more improbable ones. And here's your panel. Left to right on your television screen, Andrew Fillipponi from the PM show. In the afternoon on the Fan. In the middle, it's Mr. Chris Mack. To the right, his partner in the morning, Colin Dunlap from the Fan Morning Show, and we're here talking about the Steelers. So, Colin, I'm going to begin with you on this one. Is this a case, and I give the Steelers a lot of credit, you saw their character, you saw Ben Roethlisberger, even in one of his worst 3 quarters, come to life and win a game, but was it more the Steelers winning or Jacksonville losing?
Well, albeit Doug Marrone coach scared, I thought, because he had a quarterback that couldn't make plays or couldn't make a throw or didn't allow him to make a throw. I think the Steelers won the football game. The Steelers' defense played well, and the Steelers' offense made plays when they needed to, particularly Ben Roethlisberger and Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think the Steelers finally woke up and won it. I don't think that Jacksonville lost it as much as the Steelers won it, to be honest with you.
I mean, I agree that Doug Marrone coach scared, Colin, but I think you've got a quarterback who, yeah, we can look at it and say, well, it's Blake Bortles, but we can also look at it and say this guy beat the Patriots earlier this year and beat the Steelers last year. So for Marrone to coach that way with the game on the line with a big lead struck me as odd. But what was even more impressive to me was the Steelers' defense shutting things down late. 4 consecutive 3-and-outs, getting the ball back to the offense when the offense has started to figure some things out. And Juju Smith-Schuster having a huge fourth quarter.
Yeah, the Steelers won the game. I don't think anybody gives you something against that defense. You dig yourself a 16-0 hole, and you've got to go against Jalen Ramsey, Telvin Smith, A.J. Bouye. They've got all Calais Campbell, last year's Defensive Player of the Year. Those throws that Ben made and Juju, the plays that he made, those weren't put on a silver platter for him. But I give the Steelers' defense no credit for what they did in the fourth quarter of this game. The way that one team had Blake Bortles, the other team didn't. And it's not just they didn't trust Blake Bortles to throw the ball. They didn't even trust him to beat the Steelers with his legs. So they could have knelt on the ball in the victory formation, and it would have had the same effect.
Well, I do give the Steelers no credit at all.
On defense, I didn't say that.
On defense,
on defense, I give them 0 credit.
Well, here's why: 75 yards rushing in the first half and 21 in the second half.
This game now, this NFL game, Andrew, is predicated on making teams kick field goals and stopping them in the red zone as opposed to letting them score touchdowns. The Steelers defense did that. It's about getting a big stop in a timely manner. The Steelers defense did that. Teams rack up yards every week, all the time. They're very good with time of possession. Yeah, they even convert a bunch of third downs. It's about those things now.
I give them very little.
That's what they did.
I give them very little credit. They didn't force any.
Then I don't know what football game you watched.
Did they force any turnovers?
Yes.
They did. Which ones? What did they do?
The Steelers, if you don't
give me one. Give me a big defensive. Did they take the ball away? Give me a play.
They got the ball back Andrew, 4 consecutive times.
Because they ran the ball right into the line of scrimmage.
And they hadn't stopped the run in the first half.
Right,
they
ran the ball,
in the second half.
Andrew, they ran the ball right into the line of scrimmage in the first half and chopped up the Steelers defense.
You're right.
And then they stopped them. They gutted up and they stopped them. Yeah. I thought that Jay Wobble in the middle played very well, particularly in the second half.
Best game of his career, 2 sacks. He was really good in there.
But the idea,
Andrew, they only gave up 1 touchdown, 1 offensive touchdown the entire day on the road against, I don't care who it is. You cannot say 0 credit. They stopped a team that was gouging them in the first half.
They only have one way to play. You know how easy it is? It's just, this goes back.
Well, they could have used Blake Bortles on bootlegs and everything else.
Exactly.
So I blame Jacksonville for that, but they don't even trust him for that.
Exactly. So. That's my point.
But they still have to stop Fournette, who gouged them in the first half. They have to stop Yeldon, and they have to stop Hyde, all those guys, and they did.
I agree with that, Bob, but it's just like the Steelers' argument with Spygate. When the other team knows what you're going to do, it's easy to stop it. The Steelers' defense knew every time the Jaguars ran a play in the fourth quarter what the play was.
And they knew that in the first half, too, and they couldn't stop it.
Right.
So at some point you have to credit it. Let's move on to another one. James Conner has been really good, and we all know that. Le'Veon Bell's situation here is over. But today in the passing game, we saw a couple of critical drops. So, Chris, when you saw those, I mean, a lot of people on Twitter immediately say, oh, well, Le'Veon Bell was here, that's happening. I remember Le'Veon Bell dropping passes, too. These were critical drops, however. Do you put anything into those?
Well, I mean, look, James Conner is not the receiver that Le'Veon Bell was. We knew that coming in, though. And we know that this is part of it. He's your guy. And this does not affect my view of James Conner, the complete running back, whatsoever. This is still a guy who, when you need him to, can steamroll the opposition. When you've got a lead and you're running downhill and you're looking to put a game away, I'll still take this guy the way he's run the ball over the course of the first 10 games.
He needs to catch those passes. I mean, there's no two ways about it. He needs to catch those passes, and he's lucky that Ben Roethlisberger bailed him out. I love James Conner more than most people do. He's lucky Ben bailed him out.
Well, I like Conner too, but I don't think they had the confidence in him that you have in him, Chris. Because if he can steamroll the opposition, why is he not getting the ball at the 1 yard line? You're at the end of the game. You trust this guy. You support him so much. You've got to play at the 2 yard line, and you're designing it for Ryan Switzer?
Or at the 2-point conversion play.
Well, and that's a question for Randy Fichtner then.
Right, but here's my other problem with the last play that Ben did make a play on and convert. I don't think Ben trusted to throw that pitch play to Conner at all. I think it was a designed, obviously, shovel pass for Conner, and the reason why Ben probably kept it, in my opinion, is he didn't think that Conner would hold on to the ball.
All right, now let's talk about some of the other issues. We had a big debate on our postgame show, Chris Hoke and I, about officials. He thought the face mask on Switzer should not have been called. Overall, when you look at this, Andrew, start with you on this one. The state of the officials today, Chris believes the Steelers were lucky they got a lot of calls that maybe they didn't deserve. I disagree with a lot of that. What do you say?
No, I think it evened out because there was one body weight play that they did call. There was another one that they didn't. I would prefer that they.
That's a terrible rule, by the way.
It is. I'd prefer that they call them both or call neither. As far as the last call goes, I think in Pittsburgh, if the Patriots won a game like that, we'd complain. But it was the right call. I mean, Switzer had his head raked.
Yeah, I mean,
I have no idea what Hokie's problem, and to have a problem with the call on Switzer's is kind of crazy to me. To talk about the roughing the passer calls or non-calls, I mean, it comes back to the joke that is the inconsistency of NFL officiating.
I don't think it's the inconsistency of officiating. I think that we're here in Week 10, and it's the inconsistency of how the rules applied. Because people are worried that it's going to go to New York, it's going to get changed, they're going to get fined or even fired later. People don't know what this body weight rule is, and it's really going to affect the playoff game. Watch it happen. It's either going to be called or not called, and it's going to screw up a playoff game.
Real quick, 30 seconds. Do you guys have a problem with clock management at all today with timeouts at the end of the first half?
I think that Tomlin should have called a timeout on top of the 2-minute warning, but other than that, things worked out.
It could have cost them the game. If they have another 10 or 15 seconds there, if that play doesn't get into the end zone for Roethlisberger and maybe there's another penalty, something that extends the fourth quarter, you're talking about a different ball game.
I didn't like their plotting pace on the Vance McDonald touchdown drive. I thought that might come back to haunt him, but it didn't.
Yeah,
I have a hard time complaining, though, when they win and it ices it down to 5 seconds left. I just have a hard time complaining. It seems like they got it exactly right.
All right. We have more coming up, including some Penguin conversation. But first, I want to tell you that, as you know, coming up, we're having one of the most demanding sports seasons of the year. It's Black Friday. You know what that means. Elbows, people trying to get in ahead of you. But you can beat the hustle and bustle at #1 Cochran's Clear Friday event. You will find there stress-free shopping and special offers. They are clearly the best of the year. Plus, you will get a $500 Visa gift card with the purchase or lease of any new vehicle. The Clear Friday event. It's going on now through November the 30th at all #1 Cochran locations. Penguins got some issues. We'll delve into them next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.